Welcome back to the Western Working Wife vlog. If you're new here, my name is Tia, and I'm here to show you my life hacks I utilize to shuffle shenanigans every week while I run a successful real estate business, remain a competitive barrel racer, and practice the art of homemaking for my growing family. I am not your typical social media influencer. I don't want to influence you at all, actually. I simply want to provide you inspiration in your daily life and show you that you can do it all and not lose your identity. You do not have to choose between having a career, chasing dreams, and being a homemaker. Oh my gosh, y'all, it was a very busy week. We kicked it off with hosting a couple open houses on 2 of my listings in one day. And I got a bunch of food homemade from scratch. We sold our house and went to the first rodeo of the year. I'm always meeting people at gas stations randomly to pick up their NutriBac and EquiBoss products, and I'm pretty sure if they have surveillance cameras, they probably think I'm like a drug dealer or something at this point. I'm meeting one person right now. I met someone the other day, and I'm meeting someone tomorrow. It's just horse products. It's just horse supplements. No big deal. So because I made so much food this week, we're going to do it a little bit differently. I will post the individual recipes of everything that I'm making in this video as short videos here on my YouTube channel. I started off with 20 pounds of apples, and I turned those into homemade applesauce and homemade apple butter. And of course, I took all of the cores from the apples and I fed it to my 2 pigs, Chester and Ruger. You can see here that they absolutely love some apple cores. The big gray one is Chester. He's 5 years old, and for the first year of his life, he was actually raised in the house. And the smaller one there is Ruger, and he's 4 years old. Ruger has actually only ever lived outside, so he tends to be a little bit more standoffish than Chester. So once I got the apples slow cooking in the crock pot for my applesauce, I went ahead and started to make some tomato basil soup. So you're gonna see me kind of bouncing back and forth between making my tomato soup and working on my applesauce. And that is because I am just making the most of the time I've dedicated to being in the kitchen on this particular day. Also, everything that I'm making in this video is being canned up so that we can preserve them naturally and use them for meals, snacks, and staples in our kitchen on later days. So kind of a cool fact is that the applesauce and the tomato soup can be water bathed for the exact same time. So when I am doing my water bath canning, I like to try to group things together that I know take the same amount of time processing, so I can make the water bath as full as possible every time I run it. What I've come to find in my homemaking journey is that you can actually do other things around the house, tidying things up, cleaning up after the kids, cleaning up the kitchen as you go. You can do a lot of that while you're processing your water bath. So I really like having the electric water bath canner, the Ball brand. because it does allow me to just set the timer and walk away to go do other things. This batch turned out fantastic and all of the jars pinged like they're supposed to. And then I went to work on my apple butter. Apple butter actually takes 10 hours overnight in the slow cooker. And then once I get it stirred up, I went ahead and put it in the blender. And again, I'm going to remind you right here that I will post all of these recipes in individual videos, so make sure you hit subscribe and don't miss out on all these recipes. They are all beginner friendly, and I'm only going to post them if they turned out really awesome, and this apple butter turned out absolutely wonderful. And again, while things are in the water bath, I am always off doing other things. In this case, I was doctoring Birdie since I was so relieved to find out she only has an abscess. All right, and then back up at the house, you'll see me here blanching some tomatoes. This was so that I could dice them up and put them in some half-pint jars to make a full water bath with my apple butter. If you notice the extra set of hands here in this part of the video, that is my bonus mom, Hilda. She is here visiting and loves to help out in the kitchen. She doesn't like to just sit idle. So next up, you'll see me start to de-seed these tomatoes so that I can dice them. And what I learned in the process of this was to not overcook your tomatoes in the blanching process. Otherwise, they get too soft and they become very difficult to work with. Now, once I got my diced tomatoes and my apple butter in the water bath, I decided to go ahead and whip up 2 more of my favorite kitchen staples to have on hand. And I was really excited to make these from scratch for the first time ever. I ended up making some cream of chicken soup and cream of mushroom. And I don't know about you, but I swear every casserole you end up needing some cream of chicken or cream of mushroom, or sometimes even both. So I love that I was able to easily whip these up and have them made from scratch with no preservatives. This cream of chicken soup actually turned out just as good as Campbell's cream of chicken soup, and I was very proud of it. The taste and the consistency was superb. Something else to not forget when you're canning up soups is that they will also thicken in the water bath, so you don't want to start with them too thick. Kind of a random fact about me is that I do not even like mushrooms. I don't like the taste of them. I don't like the consistency of them. However, I actually can tolerate mushrooms as long as it's in cream of mushroom soup. So come along while I whip up this cream of mushroom soup. In my opinion, it was a little bit too mushroomy, but both of my neighbors have since cooked with this cream of mushroom soup, and they both told me it turned out absolutely perfect. So that made me really happy, even though the initial taste testing that I did myself, I did not like the taste of it. But for me, that's just because I don't like mushrooms. In this recipe, I do wish I would have cut back on the mushrooms just a little bit. On future batches that I whip up, I will probably do a little less. This ended up being, I think it was 10 pounds of mushrooms, or maybe it was 5, but it was kind of a lot, and it was really hard to not end up with it being like too mushroomy with the amount of mushrooms I used. But if you're a mushroom person, you will probably absolutely love this cream of mushroom. This turned into a pretty long night, but an absolutely worth it kind of night of water bath canning. After the apple butter and diced tomatoes, I already had a hot water bath, so I went ahead and threw in the cream of chicken and cream of mushroom soups that I had just made. All right, y'all, it is almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just finished up water bathing some cream of chicken and cream of mushroom soups. Those are absolute kitchen staples when you're making casseroles and soups and things. So I decided to can some of those up, and I've been super hard at it. I've got some apple butter here, diced tomatoes. I've done some tomato basil soup and applesauce. I made it in a crock pot and canned it up. And so anyway, I just want to take a minute and show y'all what happens when one of your jars does not seal up. My neighbor actually taught me that she said that when one doesn't seal up, that's just God's gift to you in reward for all your hard work. And I've been doing this for like 2 days now in a row, and I'm like, thank you, God, because of course it's my apple butter is one of my ones that didn't seal up right. So I just wanted to show you real quick that it's no big deal when this happens. Like, there's nothing in it, there's nothing wrong with it. It just didn't seal. So that's okay. I will just put that jar in the fridge and get to enjoy that tomorrow on my sourdough toast. So, otherwise, all of these ones turned out great. And that's the first time, and I don't know how many water baths I've done now that's happened. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. And I'm going to pull these soups out of the canner, and I'm going to get some sleep. After some much needed rest, I woke up the next morning and decided to start making some tomato paste completely from scratch. Now, this vlog is all about just kitchen staples. These are things that you might want to whip up that you may not use on an everyday basis, but when you do need them, you will have them, and there's one less thing that you have to go buy at your local grocery store. And I don't advise doing tomato paste unless you have a bit of time to dedicate to it. This was my first time using a food mill. So tomato paste kind of takes a little bit of prep work, and it ends up being like an all-day adventure. This was actually really cool to learn the process of how it cooks down. And here I am putting it in the oven. and you basically just like, you kind of slow bake it, and you change the position of the pan like every 30 minutes or so. And I don't know if there's a clean way to like get them in the oven without spilling them. I ended up having to clean up my mess. While I was baking the tomato paste and cooking it down in the oven, I of course decided to multitask yet again and decided to whip up some peach jalapeno jelly. I love peach jalapeno jelly over some cream cheese, dipping some Ritz crackers in it. It is absolutely one of my favorite snacks. Here you see me pulling the tomato paste out. Just a little, try not to make a mess again, and you just have to stir it and change the position of the pan, and you do this like every 30 minutes for a few hours. Like I said, y'all, I will be posting individual recipes of all of these things in case you want to try them in your kitchen. So stay tuned for those short videos of how to do all this. I started with frozen peaches for this jelly, and therefore I think it kind of ended up making a little bit more work for me in getting them to break down while they were like in the pot. I ended up like mashing them really good, but I finally compromised and threw them in the blender and finally got like the consistency that I was looking for, stirred in my pectin, and then it ended up being just the right consistency to go ahead and can it up. This peach jalapeno jelly turned out so good. And back to the tomato paste, you'll see me over here stirring it again. I think I did this a couple more times before pulling it out of the oven. You see it, start to change that like liquid consistency. I did learn a little bit about spacing in the oven. It's all just like you learn as you go, especially when you try new things for the first time. But I was still able to get 5 4-ounce jars, even with that little burnt edges. Vinegar took the burntness right off that pan. So 5 4-ounce jars. I'm totally happy with those results. It's not something that we use every day. That'll probably last us quite a while, and it ended up tasting super good too. And since the peaches and tomatoes and even like jalapenos could all be water bath together, I went ahead and threw all of these in the water bath, set the timer for I think it was like 25 minutes, and carried on, cleaned the kitchen up, and then your girl went to town to get pampered. Went and got my nails done right after this. And since I decided to feed one of the horses on my way out, I basically took a half a bale of hay with me to the nail salon. Tell me you're a horse girl without telling me you're a horse girl, right? All of my horses are feeling so much better, and they loved racing out to go have turnout time. So I never did actually find out what the horses had. I just know the antibiotics they gave fixed it. And I'm happy to report nobody has snotty noses, no more coughs. And we will be back in the saddle and back at some races here soon. we are bidding farewell to Mineral Wells, Texas, and I pray this is not my last time getting to indulge in a Woody's burger at Woody's Bar and Grill. If you are ever in Mineral Wells, you've got to eat here. Friday was a very bittersweet day for me as I signed off on the house that I've called home for the last 4 years. I'm so glad I was able to get to and from town without too many people noticing me. I'm in my freaking leggings and Ugg boots on an 80-degree day because none of my freaking jeans fit me, and I have this thing on my foot that's hurting me, and I can't wear a whole lot of shoes with it. And so I was like, let me try on some Ugg boots. It's 80 degrees and I'm wearing Uggs to town. I'm so glad I didn't see a bunch of people I knew. Rodeo season is officially upon us and we are so excited. So the first thing to know about us is that I am a barrel racer and Zane is a rodeo announcer. Sometimes I get to run at the rodeos he's announcing or running sound for, but this was not one of those. Zane has gotten to work with and learn from some of the best in the rodeo business. Bob Tallman is one of the most legendary and well-respected rodeo announcers in the business. When he asks you to go to this car and get his wild ride because it is windy and cold, you simply say, yes, sir. Here you go, Bob.
You are brilliant. Zane said you're doing good.
Of course, I would have rather been running in the rodeo, but I'm not sad when I get to hang out with Bob and Zane up in the announcer's booth.
I'd like to introduce a very special group, and I do believe you're going to love them all. You know, there's a lot of images in the American cowboy, but the best ones all have to do with the horse. And the best ones with his outfit are fucking horses. Now I want you just to look and relax. You've got a camera or video.
And Zane even let me have the reins and run the sound system as well. It was pretty fun. But honestly, being at that rodeo truly added a little bit more fuel to my motivation fire that was already burning when these horses got sick. So now that everybody is feeling better, I cannot wait to hit the competition trails. Stay tuned to see where we'll be running at soon.